Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand, the 8 p.m. show. And we've got some updates to bring you, some players coming out that aren't part of the club, some players that are part of the club, speaking very different things about Manchester United. One negative, one positive. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen the quotes, you've seen the thumbnail, but we're going to get right into it. We're going to get the discussion going, and we'll get your comments in the chat as well. So make sure you get your opinions in there too. But starting off, we're going to speak about Eric Bailly, and we're going to speak about his comments. He left the club in the summer, and he's made it very clear what he thinks about the club. He's made it very clear about his opinions on the favouritism that was in the dressing room. And I also think he's spoken a lot of truths about what actually was going on, but also a lot of things that us thought was happening as well, and what the fans were saying on the outside, and he constantly got shut down. But he's come out and actually said some things. And some of you will agree with it. I think some people think it's maybe slightly disrespectful and have kind of called him out as being one of the leaks of last season. Personally, reading the quotes, I have two different opinions. I have one thinking, yeah, I definitely think he was leaking to the press 100%. He clearly wasn't happy at all. But I also have that side of me that's like, I'm quite an outspoken person myself, and if something isn't right, I would speak about it. So I have that thought coming through that if he wanted to express that to the fans and he wanted to get his opinion known, then that's fair enough to him if he felt like he was mistreated. But we'll get into it in a little bit. But we'll go through the quotes. And the first quote coming out was, "The club MUFC should avoid favouring English players and give everyone a chance. The club should encourage competition in the dressing room. I had always had the impression that English players were favoured." To me, that translates to I should have been playing over Harry Maguire, and I wasn't. I mean, because Victor Lindelof isn't English, and he was playing every game. Varane wasn't English, and he was playing when he was fit. So to me, he's trying to say there, I was better than Maguire, but I wasn't getting into the starting lineup when he was. And I agree with him. A lot of us were calling out for Bailly to play. A lot of us were saying he could play the higher line better than Maguire. A lot of us were saying he could defend better than Maguire. So I understand where he's coming from on that. He obviously thought Maguire was getting picked, one, because he was English, and two, probably because he was 80 million. That's the reasons why Maguire was getting picked. So I get it. The other thing comes into it that no manager is going to build a team around someone that's consistently injured. I just don't see it happening. That's why I was a little bit worried about Varane coming into this season. Thank God, and I'm touching wood here right now, Varane has stayed fit, and I think he's one of them players. He's an exceptional talent, so if he's fit, he has to play. Eric Bailly we called him, he was made of glass at times. So I get why he wasn't always in the starting 11, but when we had players that were on such poor form like Harry Maguire, 100% Eric Bailly should have been given a chance, and he never got that chance. So I get why he's saying that. And a lot of you in the chat saying he's right, though, and it's facts. And I have to agree with you. I think he's right, too. But he probably was leaking that information to the press at the time. Think of that what you will. And then he went on to say also that favouring English players doesn't happen at Chelsea or other big Premier League clubs. Some people take it for granted that they are going to start, and that weakens the team. Again, speaking from the fans by it, we always had that viewpoint that players took their place for granted in that team, and there was clearly no signs of competition, and maybe that's why players kind of slacked off towards. I mean, I don't even remember when it started. I mean, Ollie lost the dressing room, Rangnick never had the dressing room, so players knew that they were continually starting because there wasn't competition there. They knew that that was their place, and no matter how bad they played, they were consistently getting picked. And I think that was one of Ollie's downfalls, to be honest. He stayed loyal. I mean, he wasn't a good coach, but he stayed loyal to players that were consistently letting him down and not giving players like Bailly a chance or anyone else. And the players just continually looked like they didn't care, really. And I've had people on the show before saying no player goes out not to care and not trying the hardest. I think Ricky said that a couple of times, but we can see from when Eric Ten Hag comes in that was the case, because everyone has massively stepped up gears. We're actually running now, and now we look aggressive. We're winning fouls. So he has a point. I think players did get completely laxed about their place, and if a player gets comfortable and they're on a lot of money every week and they're getting away with doing the bare minimum, a lot of that will continue. And I bet it would be unfortunate for a player, if you are really training hard, to get into the team and you're doing everything right, and every time you do get called upon, you perform, and you still don't get pips, which, I mean, because Eric Bailly sometimes had to play, and he did play, and he had really good performances. I think it was against Wolves when he made that clearance, and everyone was going up to him, high-fiving him and like putting his arms around him. And then the next game, I think, when Lindelof was back fit, he got drops again. So, yeah, I can understand why it is frustrating for a player like Bailly. I can't say he should have stayed professional and kept it quiet when it comes to leaving the club. Like, do that interview, you do it. I don't think he should have leaked it at the time, because what was that really going to ever achieve? But coming and saying it now, that is probably something I would do as a person, because I like to make things known and get my opinion across. So I understand why he's doing it. Edward Gibney, member for 3 months, says, I think Bailly should have played more and Glazers out. Yes. Yeah, Glazers out always is a message. And I also think Bailly should have played more. I don't think he would be a consistent starter now. I mean, over Varane and Martinez, I just really don't. But he still should have played more. I agree with you, especially at the time when the defence was so poor. It only took Erik ten Hag to come in and realise that and switch it up. And then he moved on to say that I met Erik ten Hag at the end of last season when he went to sign his contract. I was packing my bags because my intention was to leave, but he told me that he wanted me to stay because he was going to give everybody minutes. That is, for me, a manager's going to want to take a look at everyone in training and he doesn't want to lose someone that could potentially be an asset. So I feel like that's where Erik ten Hag was coming from on that one. I don't think he would have played, to be honest with you, first team football over Varane or Martinez. I think it would have been them two still. But would he have got rotated a lot more? I think he would. I think Erik ten Hag does see, I think he's going to rotate in the Europa League. We'll get to that later on. But also the sense of that is a bit like, he's going to say that, isn't he? Like, he's not going to come out and be like, I wasn't good enough to play for Ten Hag. I don't know. I don't know how far you can go with that one. I don't think that was ever a promise that Bailly was going to play. And I think Bailly, at the end of the day, probably knew that, which is why he ended up leaving anyway. And he deserves first team football at a club where he's going to be appreciated and where he's going to be able to get into the team. So I think it's a good thing that he did leave in the end. But Erik ten Hag probably just wanted to look at all of his options and get to grips with all the options that he had, which is why he probably said to him to not rush into leaving. But interesting that Eric Bailly was already packing his bags. I'm getting mixed up. Erik ten Hag, Eric Bailly was already packing his bags at the end of the season. He clearly was like, right, I've not played, I'm out of here. And to be honest with you, that's maybe why the leaks were coming out. And Bailly wasn't the only one. There'll still be players in that club now. It's gone a bit quieter because people are winning and I think there's Erik ten Hag has set down some very strict rules. Like, if you get caught leaking to the press, you will not play. You won't, no matter who you are. So there is some leaks still coming out. Players are still going to do it because we still get some people there that were leaking last season that are still in the club. But I think Eric Bailly was just so frustrated. He potentially was trying to leak to the press too. But you know what? To me, that was never going to do him any favours. And now looking back on it, it was quite obvious. But coming out and doing this interview now, I understand it. And then he goes on to say, I agreed to tour with MUFC and he kept his word, but I don't want to play once in a while. I want to play every week and feel important. Fair enough by it. I don't think that would have happened under Erik ten Hag. I don't think you would have played just because Varane and Martinez are so good and such a good partnership. I mean, Martinez is his signing. He was always going to come in. And Raphael Varane is Raphael Varane. When he's playing well, he's one of the, for me, at the moment, the best centre-back in the league. So I don't think he was going to get first-team regular football every week. But if you wanted that, then fair enough, leave. And we all understood why he was leaving. Why are we calling Bailly a leak? Come on now, people are saying. Because the things that are saying in this interview were being said at the time. Like, the leaks at the time was, we're only picking British players. A certain player in that dressing room doesn't think Maguire should play and he should be playing over him. Like, come on. Like, one add one is two. Like, he probably did leak some stuff out of frustration, but I'm not saying he was the only one. I'm just saying it is obvious that he was one of the people because out of frustration and because I don't think Randy or Ollie ever had control over that dressing room at all, and people were clearly frustrated with each other. So yes, and then it goes on to say, yeah, that's the quotes. I thought there was another one there, but yeah, Eric Bailly. That's Eric Bailly. He's coming out and said his piece. To me, it reminds me of everyone saying he isn't a leak. How do you know? It's literally the same. Some of the same things that were coming out. when we were playing poorly, about players wanting to play and thinking that we're favouring English players. So I do think there is something to it. I don't think he was the one that leaked everything. No, I think there's definitely players that left the club as well this summer that were leaking, in my personal opinion. And I think there's players that are still there that were leaking. I think everyone was at it, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I that's my opinion. I'm not going in on everybody. I really liked him as a player, and I thought he should have got more game time. I really do. But at the end of the day, he wasn't going to get it this summer. He's left. And even though I don't agree with leaking stuff, and I'm not saying he 100% did, I just think he did, looking at these quotes, I do understand his interview. And I have the energy, like, if that was me, I'd probably be doing the same thing. So I get it, and he wanted to make it known. I understand it. And it kind of reminds me about the Henderson interview that Henderson got pelters for, some would say rightly so. And the only thing is, I think Eric Bailly's words were more respectful than Henderson's. I mean, saying that you were basically in a cage for a year just doesn't look good. I think it's just signs of players being frustrated that, to be honest with you, I think Ollie made a lot of false promises. He probably told Eric Bailly he was going to play him for some games. He told Lingard he was going to play him over Bruno. I mean, Lingard should have worked out himself. I mean, you don't have to be Albert Einstein to understand that you're not getting game time over Bruno Fernandes in that team. It's just not going to happen. So I think he made false promises. He told Henderson he was going to be number one. That never happened. He didn't follow through. And if you tell people stuff and then don't follow through with it, there is going to be frustration there, because people change their plans. They're like their job, like they could have gone to move, they could have had first team football. I mean, I think Lingard would have left if he would have known that he wasn't getting paid. And I'm not making excuses for these players, I'm not at all. But I think a lot of it does come down to the fact, I think Ollie was a very promising to all these players, and none of his promises kind of came to light. He just did consistently keep staying loyal to that 11, and when it goes wrong and that 11 starts losing and the results are poor and you're playing awfully, carrying on into the Ragnick era, it was just so toxic and everyone was frustrated. The professional footballers are losing games and they're playing garbage, and then the players that aren't getting picked are like, why am I not getting picked? Because they're all playing garbage. And then there's just toxicity with the players, with the manager. You promised me this, but I've not got this. And I just think there wasn't really a boss in there that managed correctly. People go on saying, oh, he was a good manager. He did get the best out of the likes of Luke Shaw. He had a short spell with Rashford where he was playing well, but apart from that, really, was he? Because a lot of players got isolated and never got a chance, and he didn't rotate at all, and he made false promises. So I think this is why you got the Henderson interview. I think this is why you've got Bailly coming out and speaking, because there was a lot of frustration there from a lot of players, and it's always going to be worsened when you're losing and playing bad as well. Marcus S saying, Bailly is the only one telling the truth. My God, how did they give Jones a new contract and play Maguire ahead of Bailly? Johnny Evans is way better than Maguire. Only Rangnick and Ollie will tell you why they played Maguire consistently when he was playing horrendously. Eric Ten Hag dropped him. He understood. He could see it. And maybe it's just Ten Hag's maybe just like a coach that is a little bit more direct and will drop you if you are playing poorly, and he is the boss type manager. No name, no price tag is going to dictate whether you play. Maybe Ollie and Rangnick didn't have that in them. But yeah, Eric Ten Hag's dropped Ronaldo. He dropped Maguire. I'm not saying maybe people. I mean, he definitely should have dropped Maguire. Ronaldo's one of them where people have differing opinions, but he's made his decisions and he stuck by them, and I respect that. Shashin Kahini says Carragher insists to prove us how stupid he is. Maguire had made so many mistakes that people have problems fitting them all in compilation videos. I mean, yeah, and again, guys, you guys get in the comments down below saying Maguire captain shouldn't have happened. I don't understand why he was playing. We're fans of the club. Eric Bailly also loved the club, and he's such a good character. And if you're a professional footballer and you can see that a player that is worse than you and consistently performing worse than you as well, and doesn't suit the system the way you do, is consistently getting picked, whether he's English, whether he's captain, whether he's 80 million. And I don't want to just hone in on Maguire, because it happened all over the pitch with different players as well when they were playing poorly. It'd be fine if Maguire was getting picked over and we was playing well, but we wasn't. We were getting beat pelters. We were getting beat 4-1 by Watford. We were getting beat badly, and the defence was shocking. So if you're a player in that position and you still can't get into the team, and you can see there's clear bias there, that is really, really, really frustrating. It's frustrating for us fans, and it must be frustrating for players that can't do anything about it. So I get where the frustration comes. I think he's worded it well, and I think he spoke the truth. I don't have any problem with that interview. It's more respectful than the Henderson one. But to be fair with the Henderson one, I wasn't outroared about it like everybody else. I mean, I thought it was disrespectful because he still plays for the club, and that's a massive, massive factor in this. Henderson actually still belongs to Manchester United as a player. So going against your club in an interview while you're still there is a lot more disrespectful than doing it when you leave. So there is differences in it. The way he's worded it is massively different. And yeah, Eric Bailly came out and said his piece, and I think a lot of us fans are quite happy that we've seen someone say it and it wasn't just us thinking it. We knew it was true anyway, but the fact that someone actually inside that dressing room has said it, then, you know, it makes a lot of sense to us fans, and it makes us realise that what we were thinking is true and is real. I mean, Mark said on here so many times that he thinks something's happening with British players. I don't really think like the board or anything are controlling who they pick. I don't think that is the case, but I think there is favouritism all in the club and bias in the club, and maybe a little nudge here. Well, he was 80 million, like he's our captain, you know. Like United do like homegrown English players because it's kind of a niche that this club has, and it's always tried to build itself on that. So I'm glad. I'm not against British players. If a British player is performing well and has the right attitude, get him in the team. I'm all for that, 100% for that. But I have noticed that sometimes when you get foreign players, especially with the likes of Martinez and Anthony, like South American players, they've had to fight for it more, like growing up. They've had to, like, I mean, Anthony was talking about going collecting, like, I think it was like he couldn't eat or something like that. They've had to fight for everything. So fighting on a football pitch is nothing to them. So sometimes you do get that little bit more grit, that determination, which is why I like foreign players a lot of time, because of their attitudes and everything. And sometimes, for example, when you're playing in the streets in Brazil and Argentina, it's different type of football, so they bring different elements to the game. So if you're good enough, for me, if you've got the attitude and you're skillful enough, you should be in the team. I'm not picking someone just because they're English, but I'm also not picking someone just because they're foreign. So I'm happy that with Eric Ten Hag, you've seen this stop. Our whole back line is not English. The whole back five. You've got Scott McTominay in the midfield, that's British, and then you've got Rashford and Sancho, and that's all you've got in at the moment. So I think that bias is beginning to drop. And yeah, Beth, to be honest, British players are overrated by media. 100% that's the case. That's not the player's fault necessarily. So that isn't the player's fault that they are overrated by the media. But it's just like, I like Gibbs White. I think he's a good player. But him going for 45 million to Forest is just crazy English tax. Declan Rice's price tag, crazy English tax. Anthony Gordon's price tag. I think Anthony Gordon's good, by the way. I rate him, and I think he will end up going to a bigger club. I do think that. But 60 million at this point in his career is madness. So there is definitely a bias with English players, 100%, and I think we all know that. And they also don't get the criticism in the media. I mean, oh my gosh. I hate to keep going back to Maguire because it's not just him, but he's just an example I can think of, and I don't want to just singular that player out. But if Varane or Martinez consistently perform the way Maguire did, or even had one game the way he does, they get absolutely rinsed by the pundits. Absolutely rinsed. I guarantee you, as soon as Anthony has a bad game, they're going to try and pick apart his price tag, his stats from last season. They're going to, the factors from the Dutch league, they're going to go in on everything. But if Rashford had a bad game, which he did consistently, I mean, he's playing well now and I'm happy about it, but he did consistently have bad games last season and there wasn't really anything said until it got to a certain point. So there is, I mean, Grealish's price tag, someone's just told me in the chat. So, and I'm sorry, I know he's had injuries, but has he lived up to 100 million? Not a chance on this earth. Yet it's not being spoken about at all. So there is bias, and it is ridiculous. So you've got to remember that. You really do have to remember that when you're reading stuff and you're looking at stuff elsewhere, that there is bias. And someone said Bailly is still part of United. He's only on loan to Marseille. Yes, but he has an obligation to buy if he plays a certain amount of games, which I think he will. But thanks for reminding me on that. Actually, I for a second there, I was thinking he was sold, but I do think I don't think he'll end up coming back to United. Let's just put it that way. I really don't. And another example, just before we move on, is Martial and Rashford. The treatment of them two. The difference, it's crazy. So yeah, it's I mean, the difference of Ronaldo and Harry Kane. When Harry Kane was pushing a move to try and go to City last year, no one really said anything. He wasn't turning up to training. He wasn't going. If Ronaldo did that, he'd get absolutely slaughtered. So there is a difference. There is an absolute difference, 100%. The only one who speaks the truth is Keane. Yeah, I rate Keane. I rate Keane's punditry, to be honest with you. And yeah, so that's on Eric Bailly. It kind of brought up another discussion that we got into of English bias and getting really into them comments, but it's good to discuss it and get your guys' opinion. And we know we're just speaking our opinions and speaking the truth, and Eric Bailly said it now, so it's obvious that is the case. But moving on to Anthony's comments before we get on to the Europa League, and certain people are starting. We've had reports on, so we'll get into that in a little bit. Anthony has said, I saw that Sancho could lay it off to me or Marcus, and when he played it to Marcus, I knew he had seen the play, as I know it. What an intelligent player he is. Anthony, he said, the assist was at speed. I knew he'd pass it, as Sancho's goal against Leicester was similar, with the ball played into space. When he had the ball, I was aware he'd play it to me. I like that because he's obviously analysed our game previously. I know he was watching it, but he was analysing it as a forward player and getting in the right position. I like that a lot. And then he says, I made the correct movement, and all the credit to Rashford as well. I was happy I put it away. I had goosebumps from the moment I stepped up on the pitch and felt the atmosphere. I know how much the fans are behind us. See, I just love them quotes. And Anthony kissing the badge, Anthony doing that celebration, like scoring his debut, the attitude he had, getting into tackles. Do I think the guy is probably a walking yellow card? Probably. Do I absolutely love his grit and his attitude and the fact how enthusiastic he is about being at Manchester United? The hugging with Martinez, like we've made it, like that kind of vibe when he scored the goal. Absolutely love it. I love his character. And I think with a character like this, you only want them to succeed because they clearly want it so badly. Like, crazy bad. Like the amount he pushed his transfer, how good he played in his first game, the way he took his goal, the way he celebrated, the fact that he clearly was desperate to play. Like, just give me 60 minutes on the pitch, and he played them 60 minutes. It was clearly pre-planned that he was going off at that time. I just think I love his character. And do you know what else I love as well? The fact on AFTV afterwards, they were slating him for being a despicable person, so he'd fit in well at United. To me, that just looks like you've got under the opposition's skin, which is what you have to do to put them off and get in their heads. So I love that from him. He's got that South American grit that Martinez also has, and they're not going to take anything on the football field. They're going to give it back twice as much. So I really like him. I really, really do. And I think there's a lot more to come from him, just as Eric Ten Hag said in his interview afterwards, that we're only just scratching the surface on Anthony. And by only just scratching the surface on him, you've seen that goal. And I'm glad he's off the mark as well, because sometimes if you don't score straight away, the pundits get on your back, the price tag is illuminated, and there's pressure. And now he's got that first goal, it will just set him off. And yeah, I really, really like it. And I like having a bit of a shit house. I can say it because it is the 8 o'clock show. I like having a shit house in the team. Like, Bruno's a shit house, but he's our shit house. And sometimes you do need them types of players. And I feel like that is kind of what he is for us. And I love that he celebrated in front of the Arsenal fans. Exactly. I love that too. Like, you want that in your team. You massively want it. So I think he did like 3 different celebrations. He had kissing the badge to the lion and then the baby one. So it meant a lot to him. And I think you'll see a lot more of that from Anthony. And do you know what else I liked about him before we move on to the Europa League? The amount he tracked back. A lot of the times he would be the furthest attacker back, and he'd also get up the pitch really quick as well. So he's got that energy there, and he will give everything. And he was getting some good tackles in as well and tracking his runner really, really, really well. So yeah, I like him. I think he's a team player. And yeah, did he try that chip over Ramsdale? Was it also going top corner if you had done it just slightly bit earlier? I think he was just trying to kind of make that glory moment for his first day, but he'll learn from that. But it's also good to have that flair within your team and that little bit of arrogance from your wingers as well. And do you know what? And Ronaldo seemed to be really like taken by him. He seemed to be like hugging him and really celebrating his goal. So it's good that you've got that team atmosphere there. It is really, really good. So yeah, happy with Anthony and them quotes. Just keep them coming, the positive quotes about United. So a bit of a different take to what everybody was saying. And Cristiano Ronaldo, coming from the Mirror about the Europa League, Cristiano Ronaldo and Harry Maguire are expected to start against Real Sociedad this Thursday. And then also coming from the Mirror, Casemiro, Fred, Anthony and Anthony Elanga are all expected to start on Thursday. So you've got a lot of the team named there, if this is correct. And I would assume Casemiro, Fred, and either Donny van de Beek or Bruno will be in the midfield. I'd like it to be Van der Beek because I do think he's a very good player that deserves a chance. And at this game, I think he can definitely start the game and do well. I don't think you necessarily need to play Bruno. So I'm not a believer that you should change the full 11, but at the same time, these players need a rest and we need them to keep performing at that level, especially the players that like for example, Bruno, that's running ridiculous amounts every game. So I would like to see Donny come in. Anthony, I said I'd want him to play because he needs to get used to the team, get gelled and get chemistry with the players. So get him in more minutes, especially because I don't think he was training a lot because of he's kind of went on strike for Ajax to push a move. So I'd like him to play and the fans to see him a bit more at Old Trafford as well. To me, the Elanga one is a bit like, obviously, it's going to be Elanga and Anthony on the wings and Ronaldo up front. To me, it's like with Elanga, it's like, why are we not playing Garnacho? I get the guy is young. I think he's 18. I get that. And he's not really come through yet. He's had moments where he's had chance. But we know what we're getting with Elanga. We do. And I think there's potential there. I think he should be out on loan. And I think these are games that he can play, to be fair. But I'd so much rather see Garnacho and see what he's about, to be honest with you. Personally. So yeah, a bit of a letdown about that because I wanted Garnacho to start, but hopefully we'll see Garnacho come off the bench and do something because I definitely think he'll get some minutes. Hopefully, I think Erik ten Hag is obviously trying to make him work to get in and kind of easing him in bit by bit. You want the player to have the hunger, the appetite, and to be itching to play. So maybe that's why he'll handle it. And Geb Galloway says too young, pressure will destroy him. Well, if you're good enough, you're old enough, in my opinion. And I think Garnacho is good enough from what I've seen of him, which is why I want to see more. I want to see what he's about. So hopefully he'll get some time. Big game for Fred. Not been in favour for Erik ten Hag really in the starting 11. He's come on and impacted the game. I mean, apart from that woeful cross to Ronaldo, that should have been the fourth goal. I think Fred really impacted the game against Arsenal. He gave us energy. He got the interceptions in. He kind of improved the midfield, I thought, when he came on, just by giving us that energy. So Fred's got something to prove. Erik ten Hag did say that Fred was playing in the wrong position and he's moved him to more of an advanced forward role. So him and Casemiro, the Brazilian duo that play for Brazil together. All we're missing is Paqueta from West Ham. But the Brazilian duo will be playing, and it'll be good to see their relationship as well for United playing. And Casemiro, a good environment to kind of get him up to speed with the team, get the chemistry going. I think the reason he's not playing is, like what we've all said, La Liga is different to the Premier League. Erik ten Hag's never worked for him before. He's the type of manager that he's not putting you on that field unless he 100% trusts you. And he's had time to work with the players he's got to get the trust building and to get the tactics in the head. Plus, McTominay has been playing well, especially the last game. Like it would be unfair to drop McTominay. I have to put it out there. I think he's the best I've seen him, to be honest with you, consistently for Manchester United. Potentially because the players he's got playing with him, but also competition makes everyone improve. I'm telling you that now, and he knows because he knows it's only a matter of time before Casemiro takes his place. So he's doing everything he can to stop that from happening, which I like. So Casemiro, yeah, as the chat said, he knows how to play against Sociedad. He's played him before. Fredemiro, that's a new one. Fred to Fredemiro. So yeah, he knows how to play against them. He's played him in La Liga. It's more La Liga is a little bit of a slower league than the Premier League. So I do think it's good to get him in to that. Eriksen definitely needs a rest. 100% agree with the chat. Scott needs a rest. Yeah, definitely. And we need to see what Casemiro's fully about. I think it's a good game to get him gelled in with the fans and get the fans are already behind him, but get a good performance out of him, build that confidence going forward. I mean, we're talking like 5 times World Cup winner Casemiro here, so it's not as if he needs much confidence building. He's right. Look, it's a matter of time before Casemiro makes that starting 11. No doubt about it. He will be in that starting 11 permanently when he gets into the role. But I think Erik ten Hag just wants to embed the principles into him, get the style of play sorted, and kind of protect him from making any mistakes in Premier League games, because it is a little bit of an adjustment and you want the player to come in and get off to a good start, which I think it's good from Ten Hag what he's doing. So I'm excited to see him play. I bet Ronaldo and Casemiro didn't think this time last season that they'd be playing in the Europa League games for Man United, but it is what it is, and you've got to get on with it. And Cristiano Ronaldo and also Harry Maguire expected to start against Sociedad this Thursday. Look, we knew it was coming. Ronaldo absolutely has to start. And for me, it's like, if Ronaldo plays and ends up getting like 2 goals and a really good performance, that gives Ten Hag a massive headache at the weekend against Crystal Palace, because we know he's really liking playing Rashford up front for his pace, for his energy, and for the runs he's making and the way he benefits the entire team. But Ronaldo as just a number 9, not looking at the team game, and as a number 9 in general, is one of the best number 9s there is. And also, he's been coming onto games, especially the Arsenal game, and affecting the game and looking like he was going to score, and playing, pressing from the front, energy, team spirit. Like, the passing he was doing was good as well. So I think if Ronaldo has a brilliant game and gets a couple goals and has a good team performance, he's definitely gives Ten Hag a headache, which is what you want, because I think Ronaldo does not want to be sitting on the bench. He wants to be in that team, and he will find a way to be in it sooner or later. So I think Ronaldo. It's time for him to shine, and it's mad to think that in a rotation game you're playing Ronaldo and Casemiro, and yet we've won the last 5 games. Like, it's strange to me. I mean, it's an exciting time to be a Manchester United fan. We've got options, and then also it'll be good to see the Anthony and Ronaldo relationship, because if they build a good relationship with each other, then you've got also another dynamic for Erik ten Hag to explore, because you've got Anthony who could be potentially feeding Ronaldo, and you want the relationships and the dynamics and the chemistry to work together up front. So it'll be good for him to see. Merk Eriksen and Freddie Miro, yep, they are literally our 2 duos, because I think Bruno's always going to play. I do. And I think Fred is now playing the more advanced role under Erik ten Hag, which is better for him. So it's not bad options to have. It really isn't. It's exciting that Erik ten Hag is turning these players' forms around and actually getting some depth there in the positions that we need as well. So it's good. It's good. And then lastly, moving on to Harry Maguire. We knew he was going to start. It was always going to happen. He will be captain as well. We saw that at the Arsenal game when Bruno Fernandes came on and gave his captain's band to Maguire, even though it was the last 10 minutes. Did it need to happen? Probably not. Did it happen? Yeah. So it proves Maguire is still going to be captain when he plays. So, yeah, I think it's a big game for Maguire, if I'm being honest with you. He has to perform, because even if he has man of the match performance, Maguire ain't getting in above Varane and Martinez at the weekend. They've nailed that. That centre-back partnership is for them to lose, either through injury or through going out of form. But that they have nailed the Premier League partnership down 100%. There's no way they'll get dropped, even if Harry Maguire scores a header hat-trick. It's not going to happen. So he needs to have a man of the match performance for himself. I think he needs to build his confidence. He needs to just focus on defending. He needs to kind of use this as a clean sheet and clean slate. I hope we get a clean sheet, but a clean slate, and if just defend well and play a good game. So he has to work for his spot, like what you guys are saying in the chat. So yeah, we'll see what happens. He did get the fastest yellow in the Prem. He did get a yellow card very quickly against Arsenal, but at the same time, Casemiro did put him under it, and he did have to make that foul. Like, he did have to. But it's just the pace, like, as he was turning, it was just like so slow compared to what we were used to in Varane and Martinez. So it's a different type of centre back. I hope he has a good game. I think Sociedad, I don't think they've not scored. I think Charlie was telling me today, and Adam or Charlie was telling me today that they've not scored against any English team, or they've never scored against us. So yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen with Maguire tomorrow. And it'll be interesting to see if Lindelof plays as well, because that is the partnership we're used to all of last season, and it might be back, because I think Varane and Martinez both need a rest. And I think we can win this game with them at the back, but it's going to be a lot more challenging. But I think Erik ten Hag will rotate and give them a chance to prove the worth to the team, because you've got to fight for your spot. Be interesting to see if Luke Shaw comes in. I know he had small complaints, which is what Ten Hag was saying in the last game. He's another player that we might see a different player, because we know when Tellys came in, Luke Shaw massively stepped it up. Malacia has done great. I still think if Luke Shaw does brilliantly, he won't come in. Malacia has nailed down that spot, but I think also it's good to give players a break and get them fit and raring to go for the weekend as well. And also, if Luke Shaw has a brilliant performance, Malacia is like, got to go again now. He's had a really good performance. I've got to keep my spot. So it keeps that competition going, that hunger going, and the players giving everything going as well. So yeah, hopefully the players that do come in and rotate do well. That's all I always want our players to do well. So yeah, a lot of people in the chat saying, Donny van der Beek, will he play? I hope he does, for his own sake, because if he's not starting this game, you do question where his future is, really. You do, don't you? He's not really been used under Ten Hag at all, so I hope Donny does get his chance, because I do think there is something there. First team level, potentially not, but I definitely think he can be a vital player for us and a squad player for us, definitely. I was hoping at some point he could have been like in and around the first team, but no manager seems to fancy him, to be honest with you. So let's hope he does get his start, and because if Fred and Casemiro are playing, that means Bruno has to be dropped for him to be playing. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm not totally convinced that will be the case. Maguire and Lindelof scare me as a partnership. Me too. I mean, no wonder. It's like going through like a horror show, and then just you've not gone to it for a while, and then you get brought back for it for a final rerun. So hopefully they will play well. I hope they have a good game, and you've got to rotate. We can't afford for Varane and Martinez to get injured. We need them fit for the league games. And to be honest to you, for me, the league games have to be priority now. Now we've got such a good. They always had to be priority, but now we've got such a good stead. I mean, 2 points behind City. Look, we've won our last 4 games. We've got to be focusing on this league and have our best players ready for that. And Crystal Palace is a tough game, especially away at the weekend. So there has to be a rotation, but you can rotate and still win a game. And that's it. We'll see how Ten Hag handles it. If he gets it right, I'll be impressed. I think we should be winning this game. But if he gets it right and manages to rotate all the right players, even better. But everyone, make sure you get your comments in down below. Who do you think is going to start in the Europa League? Is Ronaldo going to be happy that he's been downgraded from a Premier League team to the Europa League starting 11? It's going to be interesting to see how he responds. I think you will see a brilliant performance from him if we know anything about Cristiano Ronaldo. Also, might see a first full 90 from Casemiro. Anthony, there's stuff to be excited about it for this Sociedad game, and when you're winning, I don't mind travelling out to Old Trafford on a Thursday night and watching the second team against Sociedad. I think it'll be interesting to analyse different players' performances, players that aren't actually getting to starting 11. Mike Hill, I want Wan-Bissaka or Maguire to be sold next summer. To be honest with you, Wan-Bissaka I think will be sold, because he's just not in Erik ten Hag's plans. You can see that. You can see it absolutely. I think he wanted to get rid of him this summer and get Destin, but it didn't end up happening. Don't think the board wanted that to fully go through. I think they wanted a better price for Wan-Bissaka. And Maguire, if he stays benched and stays out of the first team, he'll want to leave, I think. I don't think he's the type of player that's going to want to sit on the bench every week. I mean, he's going to still be part of the World Cup squad, because he's going to be playing a game a week in the Europa League. And Gareth Southgate absolutely loves him. He thinks he's the world. So And the England suits Maguire, to be fair. Our back five suits Maguire. So he's always played well for England. So he'll still be part of that, but eventually he will want game time, and I think he will have to leave if this keeps happening, if Varane and Martinez keep him out. So there's a lot to analyse, there's a lot to look at, and yeah, excited for the Sociedad game. Yeah, get your comments in down below. What do you think of Baye's comments? Were we right all along? What do you think the team's going to be? And score predictions as well. Get them in down below. So, but thank you everyone for watching.